again, everybody, and welcome to the midweek edition of the Barely There podcast. We are the 4-star Chicago Sports All-Stars. I got my boy Kyle in the house. I'm your boy Sean Lugo. What's going on, Kyle? How you feeling this Wednesday?
Doing good, man. How are you?
I'm all right. I got a nice little injection in my back today, so hopefully I'm going to be able to start sitting through these shows without some discomfort. Trying to get back to health here, everybody. I've been dealing with some sciatica, everybody. It's not been really fun, but went and visited the doctor today. Got a nice little injection, so I'm feeling a little bit better, but a little sore still. Everybody, before we get this show kicked off, we got to pay some bills. This is an Ideal Amusement Chicago Bears Preview Wednesday. And, of course, always sponsored by River Street Tavern at 102 North River Street in East Dundee, Illinois. We have our first live event. And, excuse me, I'm trying to find the picture. We got our first live event coming up there a week from this Monday. It's going to be the Chicago Bears and the Minnesota Vikings, as we will hopefully be staring down the second win in a row, hopefully for Thomasbrown as he makes his debut, obviously, this week. And then we head to Minneapolis for this wonderful party that River Street was so gracious to let us host at their facility. We're going to have some fantastic autograph pictures, as you can see. DJ Moore, Dan Hampton, Kevin Butler, Lance Briggs. We're going to have some other prizes. 4 Stars is going to be in attendance. And obviously raising money for the less fortunate around the holiday, splitting our pots with Bears Care, just trying to take care of people within the community and around Chicago. This is once again December 16th. We'll revisit this in a little bit. And we got Elizabeth and Aunt Mass and Bruce in the house. What's up, everybody? Thanks for spending a little time with us on this what's turned out to be a pretty cold, wet, and windy Wednesday. So as we move on here, you guys always know I like to start the show, go over the history. This is the Bears and Niners are 35-33 against each other all time. The Niners lead that series by 2 games. We're 3-3 in our last 6. The Bears have not had this is only our second trip since 2014 of those 6 trips. They've been playing a lot here in Chicago. The Bears' last win was in 18 in San Francisco, 14-9, excuse me. And I always like to talk about our most memorable games, Kyle, that in this series have kicked our ass. In the 84 championship NFC championship game, they kicked our ass in the 88 championship game. So I like to delete those from our memory. Before what I'm about to show you, and Kyle and I are going to go over some vivid memories of this game here. My favorite game, I was lucky enough to be at the Terrell Owens Mike Brown interception game and watch that, walking into the end zone. So that was pretty awesome. But 2 years ago,
Sean, we lost you, man. We lost you.
Yeah, you lost me. Am I back?
Yeah, you're back.
We tackled this Niners Bears game out in Soldier Field, the epic monsoon that was out there. I mean, look at this field. The epic slide by Justin Fields. Man, what do you remember about that game, Kyle?
I remember, man, thinking Soldier Field sucks, and they need to do a better job getting the liquid or the water off the field, man. They need a better system.
Yeah, I mean,
every time a football landed, it was like this huge splash. You just don't see that. Most stadiums have like irrigation systems so that the field relatively could stay dry. Not Soldier Field, man. That water was just getting trapped like in a fishbowl.
And we had a blast, even though we were wet. Somehow, this guy next to my buddy here in the back corner, this is the guy who ripped when they scored that touchdown. He ripped my poncho off in excitement in the middle of the rainstorm. That was a lot of fun, man. That was a great memory, and that was I think the silver anniversary of my 25th straight home opener. I got so many great memories, but I've never been in a monsoon before. So,
I mean, we had high hopes for the Bears that season. We thought Justin Fields there's a chance he could be the guy. And after we came out and won, beat the Niners to open the season, I was like, man, this is a good season. And it all kind of went downhill after that, Sean. What's up, Scott? What's up, Blink?
What's going on, fellas? Thanks for spending this Jury Wednesday with us. Kyle, let's get into this game a little bit, man. The Bears injury report today was, I'm not going to say worrisome, because we were talking backstage. Just we don't know exactly how Thomas Brown runs things. I'm just trying to find that injury report. There it is. So we had no Keenan Allen today, no Ryan Bates, no Elijah Hicks, no Roshan. This is where it gets a little bit more concerning. No DJ Moore, no DeAndre Swift. Byard was limited. Shelton was limited. Wright was at least limited. If we all remember, he didn't finish that game in Detroit over the holiday. So at least he was limited. That should be a good sign. I do personally think, and I haven't had a chance to read much today, but I do personally think that DJ Moore was more of a, Veterans Day off than him being hurt. He did get banged up a couple times in Detroit, but one thing we know about DJ Moore is he's pretty resilient. Anything worry you about that injury list, Kyle?
No, not at this point, man. Just because Sean, it's a new head coach. This might be something he does. If anybody has any ailment whatsoever at all, maybe he's going to start giving people off Wednesdays, and they have to come back to practice Thursday, Friday. We have to start to get to know Thomas Brown before we can start to make any assumptions based off these injury reports. Because, like you said, man, as a new coach, this could be a totally new system. They might be doing things differently. All these guys might be able to play on Sunday. They're just trying to make sure they're crossing their T's, dot their I's, and playing it safe. I don't know. We'll figure it out as the more we see Thomas Brown, right?
Yeah. And you want to know the one thing that's good for us is the 49ers are limping into this game and sick bay as well. Bose is questionable. Trent Williams is questionable. I did hear Lenore, their top corner, is supposed to return in this football game. I actually heard both of their top corners are going to return in this game after missing a couple of weeks. Jordan Mason and, of course, McCaffrey hit IR. I want to ask you, Kyle, we know the Bears have had a very, very weak spot against this run. Isaac Gawendo, I believe that's how you say his name. He has the fastest run clocked on the season, and he also, I believe, has the most yards per touch on the season. Kyle, what did you find out about Isaac Gawendo going into this matchup?
Well, Sean, I mean, that's basically all there is to find out. He hasn't had much playing time for the Niners this season. He has had a couple huge runs for them, though, to turn into touchdowns. He looks like he's ultimately going to be a good player. But, I mean, Sean, at this point with the San Francisco 49ers and Kyle Shanahan at the helm, it's tough to tell who's really, really good player and who's just part of a really good system because, as we know, Kyle Shanahan runs a really, really good system in San Francisco. And you know what? This is a very interesting game, Sean. The more I look at these stats, the more I look at these numbers, the more interesting it becomes. And I don't think they're going to skip a beat with Guendo. I think he's going to play just as well as Jordan Mason or Christian McCaffrey. They have good offensive line and they have really good systems. So.
Yeah, one of the things that I was looking at, because secret, we already know our final scores, guys, and we were a little bit over the over, which was 44 for this game right now. There's no hook currently. But going into this game, in the 5 of the last 6 Bears games, they've been under 20 points. The Niners, 3 straight games below 17 points. With Thomas Brown at the helm, a lot of these injuries, and kind of looking at those two stats, I'm just waiting. I'm waiting for the first half Caleb Williams to appear, the guy that's gonna be the same player he is in the second half, because these slow starts are something that we've become accustomed to. And, I'm not going to say in these last 3 were the reasons that cost the Bears, because he actually pulled it together, was able to compartmentalize everything and lead the Bears back. But if he starts off a little bit faster, maybe he doesn't have to lead us back. What do you think about these slow starts? You think Thomas Brown has something in him to get the Bears on the board early and get us in the lead here?
Well, Sean, I've been talking about this for a couple of weeks now. It's just, for me personally, I believe it's the scheme, and the Bears are slow to adjust. I think, you see coaches like Andy Reid or Kyle Shanahan, Sean McVay, these guys who are able to adjust on a drive-to-drive basis. The Bears just haven't been able to do that so far. But, like I said, we haven't seen Thomas Brown as the head coach. Maybe this week they'll adjust if they come out in the first drive and they have 3 and out, second drive, they're 3 and out, and maybe you'll see him adjust and start scoring points in the first half. But, yeah, it's definitely been a concern, Sean, because if you look at the first half and second half splits for Caleb Williams, first half has not been good for him. And, there's obviously, with what he's done in the second half, he's capable of being a good football player throughout the entire game. The Bears just have to figure out a way to calm him down and make him comfortable. I will say there's a lot of first halves this season, Sean, where Caleb Williams comes out and he just looks nervous. He looks antsy. He looks like he's missing easy throws. He's missing layups. He's got to calm down. But, at some point, Sean, the more he gets used to playing in the NFL and the more the game slows down for him, it's going to be another day at the office for him at some point. He's still, you could tell, is nervous in his rookie season.
Really quick, man. I just want to give a shout out to everybody in the chat, man. Dennis, Aunt Mass, Angel, Bruce, man. Thank you guys so much. Give you guys a round of applause. Thanks for spending a little time with us. Please feel free, man. You guys want to talk about anything? Shoot it in there, and let's talk.
Harris asked a question here already, Sean. I don't know if you want. He
Hold
said,
on.
"What is Thomas Brown's background?"
Thomas Brown came. He's a Sean McVay disciple, from what I understand.
He has actually a very extensive background. I mean, for you look at Thomas Brown and you think he can't be much older than 40 years old, right? But he started as a coach in 2011 for Georgia, and he's done a lot, Kyle. He's done a lot. He's been all over the place. So in 2011, he was a coach for Georgia as a strength and conditioning coach. In 2012, he was a running backs coach, Chattanooga. 2013, he was at Marshall as a running backs coach. 2014, he was Wisconsin as a running backs coach. 2015, he went back to Georgia as a running backs coach, so a different position. 2016-18, he was Miami of Florida. He was offensive coordinator and running backs coach. 2019, he was in South Carolina as a running backs coach. And then finally in 2021, he got hired by Sean McVay in the Los Angeles Rams as an assistant head coach and running back coach. He did the same thing in 2022, except for he added the tight end coach to his list of duties. And then in 2023, he was the Carolina Panthers offensive coordinator, and he was the coach for Bryce Young in his rookie season. And then now in 2024, he's had 3 separate jobs again. He started off as the Bears passing game coordinator, was then obviously promoted to offensive coordinator when the Bears fired Shane Waldron, and has now been promoted to interim head coach after the Bears fired Matt Eberflus. So he has quite an extensive background in coaching. He also was a running back when he played football. He was a running back.
Yes,
as a player, he played for the Falcons and the Browns, and I believe he went to Georgia as a player as well, right?
I think it was Oklahoma. Oh, he might have been Georgia.
No, I don't think
he was Georgia. He was Georgia.
And he was a 6th-round pick in 2008 by the Atlanta Falcons.
I will tell you guys this: if you want to see some awesome runs, go Google Thomas Brown.
Yeah, he was a beast.
Brown YouTube highlights from college. Dude, he was a stud. He was a straight up stud.
It's kind of surprising it didn't pan out in the NFL, man, because he looked really good in college. He was, and it wasn't just like these, sometimes these guys in college, you see them play these defenses where they're just basically running through everybody or throwing over. Those runs were hard fought runs. He was breaking tackles, juking people, spinning out of tackles. I don't know why it didn't work out for him in the NFL, but by all accounts, everybody in the NFL respects Thomas Brown a lot. And he's a very highly touted coach in the NFL.
For to your point here, Dennis, about what he does in the fourth quarter, I said that a little bit ago, that if he could get it going, I think that this guy could. And I just wanted to run through his updated fourth quarter stats for the season: 84-127, 66% completion percentage, 808 passing yards, which is 3rd in the NFL. He's tied with 3rd in the NFL with 7 passing touchdowns. He's tied for 2nd in the NFL with only 1 passing interception. He has 44 first downs in the fourth quarter, which is 4th in the NFL. He has a 98.8 passer rating. This guy can get it going in the first half. Holy crap, man. But I'm going to tell you this. I think we might have to – can we coin Mr. Fourth Quarter already, or is it too soon in his career?
Oh, sure. There's a lot of different things you could call Caleb Williams. I mean, first of all, obviously he shows up at big moments. He played his best against Green Bay and Minnesota and Detroit.
Hey, Kyle, really quick to that point. The team, those last 3 games, those defenses that ranked 1st, 2nd, and 7th in EPA plays allowed, he had 827 yards, 5 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, and 143 rushing yards. This dude has ice in his veins, man. Go ahead.
I'm glad you said that, because, I keep telling people I think those were his 3 best games: Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit. People keep on responding with, well, look what he did against Carolina and Jacksonville. Yeah, but like Sean, like you just said, what he did against Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit is more impressive to me, because those are good defenses. Carolina and Jacksonville, particularly when the Bears played them, were not good defenses. Now, Carolina's cleaned it up a little bit, but when the Bears played them, they were awful. Terrible. So it's tough to give him a ton of credit when he's playing basically thin air in practice. Like Jacksonville, everybody's throwing the ball in Jacksonville. They are still ranked dead last against the pass in the NFL.
And really quick, is Philip a first-time joiner here, Kyle?
I believe I've seen that name before.
Give me an applause anyway. Thanks for joining us, Philip. We really appreciate you, man.
Yeah, Phil, thanks for showing up, man. We appreciate you. Feel free to comment and give us something to talk about here. Sean,
you know what, Philip, we actually talked about this a little bit, and I do want to get into this a little bit with you, Kyle. Do you want to get into it now or come back to it in just a little bit?
no, we can talk about it since Phil asked the question here. I mean, or said he made the point here. I mean, you can, if you go back and look at Poles' career, and I'm not talking about on the Chicago Bears, I'm talking about since he has been a scout, the head of scouting for the Chiefs and a GM for the Bears. He's kind of hit and miss on offensive linemen. He's had some very bad moments when it comes to drafting or adding free agent offensive linemen, and he's had some very good moments. If you guys go back and look at the Chiefs in 2020, they had statistically one of the worst offensive lines in the NFL. Ryan Poles replaced all 5 offensive linemen in that offseason, and they had 5 new starters in 2021. And a couple of those guys are still there in Kansas City and still starting for them and are very good players. Right? Remember, Ryan Poles is the guy who drafted almost all the offensive linemen starting for the Chiefs right now, with the exception of who was it they signed there, Sean? The left tackle.
From the Jacksonville Jaguars.
Yeah, Juwan Taylor. Is it Juwan Taylor? Yeah. So obviously Ryan Poles had nothing to do with that. But the rest of those guys in the offensive line, Ryan Poles had hands in. So he's proven that he can do it. It just seems like he's having bad luck here in Chicago. Now, I will say, to me personally, Nate Davis was glaringly not a good he wasn't a good player before he came to Chicago, great player before he came to Chicago, and he wasn't really well respected in the NFL before he came to Chicago. So why Ryan Poles made that acquisition, I will never know, but maybe he saw something we did and it just didn't work out for him. I will say, no matter how many times Ryan Poles shoots and misses, he continues to keep shooting. So you'd like to see that, man. You'd like to see him start shining away. I do think Ryan Poles is capable of rebuilding this offensive line in the offseason. Sean, we can go right into your statistics on the Bears tackles.
Yeah, I actually, Kirsten Tanis, she's a writer. She does a lot of write-ups on the Bears. She's a fantastic, she gives a fantastic insight. And she wrote this little piece today, and I just want to read it really quick. I'm sorry, I don't know what that was. If you guys heard that, something just banged off the side of my house. The wind out here is insane.
It's pretty bad out here too, man.
She wrote, "Are Braxton Jones and Darnell Wright all pros? No. Are we in a division of teams who have very good O-lines? Yes. Are Braxton and Wright above average? Yes. Would Patrick Mahomes like to borrow either the remainder of the season if given a choice? Yes." She's writing, "Tackles are the strongest part of our O-line for the Bears right now. Addressing inside linemen and really developing Kyron, who we don't have to rely on players like Larry Borum at swing tackle, is a priority. The data through 12 weeks per PFF, both are among the top 25% in tackles with a minimum of 20% snaps. Braxton ranks 18th out of 82 tackles with a minimum of 20 snaps, nearly identical run and pass block grades. Wright is 21 out of 82 for tackles. He's stronger in run blocking, but closing the gap on pass blocking and improved since last season. Both are above average than average looking tackles. Considering there's only 64 tackle positions, you have 2 that are among the top 21. Sounds pretty good. Only 3 teams have 2 tackles in the top 21 outside of the Bears. That's Philadelphia, Minnesota, and the Chargers. So,
wow, Detroit's not on that list.
Detroit's not on.
Wow.
This is Kirsten Tanis' writing. According to her, those are the only 3 teams, including the Bears. So that's 4 teams that have 2 tackles in the top 21 on the list. Now, to plank here. I thought he was going to say he got bullied. That Braxton Jones get bullied. Braxton Jones still does have a problem with bull rushes, and he is a little weaker. But I will tell you a stat that I read last week. I think the Bears' 2 tackles are among the top 3 tackles in the entire league that are left on an island by themselves by percentage per snap, which means they're not getting chip blocks. They're not getting help from other linemen. They've also allowed, I believe they're on 2 straight games with 0 pressures and 0 sacks. So they're steadily improving. And I was one, Philip, if you're still listening, I was one who was very, very hard on this O-line. And I'm starting to bounce back a little bit on ryanpoles because I'm starting to look back at some of these statistics, and I'm looking at the overall development of Coleman Shelton this year, who over the past 6 or 7 weeks has graded out as one of the top top centers, in football. So we do, I think, have to address 2 guard spots, whether we want to keep Tevin Jenkins. We want to find we definitely should find someone new on the right side.
Sean, real quick, Phil says he is a first-time listener, by the way. So, Phil, welcome. Sorry,
Phil,
I
thank you,
didn't mean to
man.
interrupt
We really
you, Sean.
appreciate it.
Yeah, we appreciate you showing up, man. Thanks a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's another round of applause. So and I don't disagree that I thought, Philip, that the O-line was very, very in desperate need of big-time help. But like anything, they've kind of planted the seed and just continued to watch these guys grow. And they're starting to grow, and the vision's starting to come and to say, hey, if we open next season with our 2 bookends that we have now, if we can't get a center, we keep Coleman Shelton based on the numbers that he's provided us down the stretch from week 6 on. We get 2 quality guards. The Bears might end up having a really, really solid O-line here next year.
Yeah, and real quick, we talked about this before. You guys, Tevin Jenkins is a very good guard. He's ranked very highly amongst Pro Football Focus. The reason we're saying we have to replace Tevin Jenkins is because he just can't stay on the field. When he's on the field, he's a great player. The problem with Tevin Jenkins is he just can't stay healthy. And that's I'm not trying to throw shade at Tevin Jenkins. Football's a violent game. I certainly wouldn't survive there, Sean. You certainly wouldn't survive in the NFL. Yeah. It's a tough game. I feel bad for Tevin Jenkins, but ultimately at the end of the day, you have to make business decisions. And if he can't stay in the field, you need to find a backup plan to replace Tevin Jenkins.
Correct.
Now, another thing I'll say is you don't ever want to be complacent, right, Sean? So just because Coleman Shelton's found his way towards the top of the league, but generally if you look at his career, he's an average center. That doesn't mean you want to just settle for keeping Coleman Shelton there at the center position next year. If I were the Bears, I would do exactly Ryan Poles. I would do exactly what he did in Kansas City. Keep drafting young, talented offensive linemen. Let them develop while you keep guys like Coleman Shelton, Braxton Jones, and Darnell Wright playing. And then if you find out that these guys are ultimately their ceiling is higher than guys like Coleman Shelton or Braxton Jones, then start replacing them. And honestly, Sean, with Darnell Wright, the guy's 21 years old, guys. So when it comes to Darnell Wright, I don't think we've even seen close to the maximum potential or the ceiling for Darnell Wright. He's a very young player. He's very raw. He's a big guy that I think the Bears can mold him into being one of the best right tackles in all of football. That remains to be seen. When it comes to Braxton Jones, I think in year 3, Sean, this is pretty much who Braxton Jones is.
I agree. It's a stealing.
He's probably always going to struggle with that bull rush. And if at some point you can upgrade at left tackle, you should. But man, Sean, like she said, wouldn't it be awesome if Braxton Jones was like your swing tackle, or Karan Amagashi ends up panning out and he's your swing tackle? Either way, you're in really good shape. What's up, Mike Ross? Wait, Sean, who was the guy before that? The guy with the armadillo there?
What's his name there? Amperus?
Yeah, what's up, Ampharius and Mike?
And I liked your comment here, Ampharius, and I do agree with you 100% on this, that a lot of the O-line problems might have been caused by the play calling of one Shane Waldron.
Certainly made more.
And Ampharius here. Thank you guys very much for tuning in on this Drury Wednesday evening.
Yeah, I mean, with Waldron's play calling, sending everybody 30 yards downfield every play, it certainly made the deficiencies of the offensive line more apparent, right? I mean, you could tell that those guys just weren't going to hold up in situations for 4 or 5 seconds. But Sean, that's just not the NFL. The quarterback should get the ball out of his hand in about an average of 2.5 seconds. And the Bears, they weren't doing that early in the season. They were not playing to the strength of their offensive line. They were playing to the weaknesses, and that's why Shane Waldron doesn't have a job for the Chicago Bears today.
Yeah, Kevin, I think it's Kelvin Blanks, if I'm not mistaken. I actually read an article on him today, Dennis Mooney. They said that it looks like with his stature, he's going to be switching to a guard in the NFL from the tackle position. So if that is the plan, I would really, really like him. And we'll see what these next 5 games. With Eberflus at the hold, Eberluz at the helm, I was thinking we weren't going to win another game. I think our drafts might be falling a little bit here with Mr. Thomas Brown at the helm.
Sean, I read an article yesterday that said, this was from a beat writer for the Colts. He said that if they decide that Anthony Richardson is not going to be the guy, they would probably be open to trading Quentin Nelson. If that's the case, the Bears should be all over that. You want that personality on your offensive line, that no shits, that doesn't take any shit personality. That's the guy you want on your offensive line, man. He is a leader of men on the offensive line. And the Bears haven't had a personality like that on the offensive line in a long time. It's been a long time. When was the last guy you'd say, was it Kyle Long or Big Cat Williams? I mean, it's been a long time. Just in general, I mean, Owen Krutz, what was that? When did he retire from the Bears? I mean, it's been a long time since the Bears have had that guy that's just the guy who's just bull rushes everybody, and everybody else in the offensive line kind of follows suit, right? They kind of adopt that personality, and it becomes a no bullshit offensive line. But Bears need one of those guys, and if Quentin Nelson becomes available, they should definitely at least give him a call, give the Colts a call to see what they're asking for him.
I agree.
That's the best guard in the NFL. Quentin Nelson is the best guard in the NFL.
I agree with that. And I do think that you really have to start looking at the Tevin Jenkins situation, because as good as he is, and when he is on the field, he's a top 5 guard. There's no doubt about that. He just can't stay on the field long enough to fulfill that.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Bears do not end up re-signing Tevin Jenkins. John 2.0, what's up, man? Appreciate you coming in here. He says, go harder, just passion for the game with an A++ mentality that lifts the whole team, set the culture and lead by example, win a road game. Bears and Jags only 2 team without a road win this season. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad because the Bears have played well enough in numerous games to win a road game, and ultimately, time and time again, they ended up failing because I believe because of the coaching deficiencies in Matt Eberflus. But he's gone. It's time to turn the page, and let's hope that the Bears can change that and get a road win this season. I do think that the Bears will end up winning a game on the road this season.
I think we got John 2.0 here. Thank you, brother. We appreciate you.
John, appreciate you joining us, man. Thanks a lot. Appreciate the comments, guys. Makes the show a lot easier when you guys give us something to talk about. Sean, real quick.
I was gonna ask you one question about the Sunday road thing really quick, Kyle.
Yeah.
Because Eberflus was 0-18 on Sunday football games. He goes to San Francisco tomorrow on Sunday and wins this football game. Is this just another glaring hole at management that they should have done this a long time ago? I mean, it's been 3 freaking years.
Once again, Sean, the problem is we don't know whose decision that was, because I did read I sent you it today in a text message. I read today that Ryan Poles was begging for Matt Eberflus to be fired after that Patriots game. And I said this earlier. I thought that probably was the case. There's no way that Ryan Poles didn't come out of that Patriots game just infuriated, right? You just lost to the worst team in the NFL, and they didn't just lose to the worst team in the NFL against the Patriots. They got their asses kicked at home against the worst team in the NFL, the Patriots. And Drake May's 5th game of his career, and you let him come in and do that to you. I think Ryan Poles was probably fed up with Matt Eberflus a long time ago.
And Scott's all in on Nelson. And Dennis Moody asks a great question. This is a great topic too. Free agent spending versus drafting. Which is better to buy versus which is better position to draft?
Well, Dennis Moody, this is a very simple answer. You want to draft the premium positions, because then you get them on rookie deals and it's much cheaper. It's very tough to sign a free agent left tackle or a free agent wide receiver or a free agent quarterback, because they're very expensive, and that takes up a big chunk of your team's salary cap. If you go get guys like tackles, receivers, corners, quarterbacks in the draft, then you have them on those 4 or 5 year rookie deals, depending on where you draft them. Like, for instance, all first round picks get a 5th year option. So like, for instance, Caleb Williams is going to be on a cheap deal for the next 5 years. Eventually the Bears will extend him, but same as left tackle position. You want to go find your left tackle in the draft, because then he's on a cheap rookie deal for the next 4 or 5 years. And then you go pick up guys like outside linebackers or nickel corners or guards in free agency, because they're much cheaper, and they just have. Now that will change. Every position in the NFL is going to become very expensive at some point, but right now you want to find those premium positions in the draft. 100%. That's not even a question.
To back up your point there, Kyle, especially when it comes to the left tackle position, because when you look at that left tackle position, they don't leave teams. And when you look at Jawan Taylor, who did leave Jacksonville, there was a reason he left Jacksonville, and everyone sees it in Kansas City now. Good left tackles get signed and they stay where they are. Hence why Big Cat Williams spent his entire year here on Lakefront.
Well, and wide receivers are a good example too, Sean. I mean, what do you think they're going to pay Rome Odunze for the first 5 years? His 5 years on his rookie deal. What, you're probably guessing 28, 30 million, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. Keenan Allen is asking for a 2-year, $52 million deal. That's what he was asking before the season. That's something similar to what Mike Evans got, 2 years, $53 million. They're about to have Rome Odunze for 5 years for somewhere around, I'm going to guess, $30 million. I mean, those premium positions you want and to draft. I mean, you already saw it with DJ Moore. The Bears already extended DJ Moore to a 4-year, $110 million deal. They're going to pay Rome Odunze a quarter of that for the next 5 years. I mean, you want those premium positions to draft, and the Bears are going to be in the prime position to do so. The Bears are going to end up probably with, I'm going to guess, three draft picks in the top 45 picks. The Bears could easily go get their left tackle this year in the draft because I think they're going to end up having a top 10 pick in the draft. If the Bears continue to lose games, they're certainly going to have a top 10 pick in the draft.
I will tell you this because I wrote this down the other day. The Bears right now would have the 11th. I said it on Monday. They would have the 11th, 37th. Trying to find. I got so many gosh darn notes. It's hard to find stuff on the fly. they would have 3 picks in the top 74. I do know that.
Sean, if they would finish 11th, that would just be the 11th pick in the second round. So that would be what? So 32. So it'd be what? It'd be 40.
I'm pretty sure
it'd be the 43rd. It would be the 43rd pick in the second round.
Yeah, and the last pick they had was 74 or something like that.
I mean, ultimately, the Bears have
going to change.
Yeah, well, the Bears have not only that, but the Bears, you guys also they're saying that the Bears are going to have upward of $80 million to spend in free agency. Once again, they're going to be in the top 10 in free agency salary cap space. So the Bears can fix all their holes this offseason. They just have to be very smart about how they spend their money. You can't be doing no Nate Davis signings. Nothing like that can happen again. That was one of the worst signings in Bears history. They cannot have something like that happen again. But, you hope as a young GM, Ryan Poles was hired at a very young age, first time general manager for the Chicago Bears. You hope he's probably learning on the job. I would assume that's probably, he seems like a very intelligent guy, and he seems like he's very rarely going to make the same mistake twice. Sean, real quick, I just want to get to this Bears-Niners game before we start diving into the Bears' future and coaching and offensive line and all that. So this Bears-Niners game is going to be very interesting. It's some of these numbers are kind of
hold on really quick. I just want to touch on these quick comments before we switch over. I love Mason Graham. He looked amazing against the Buckeyes this weekend. I also think what I was reading was Will Campbell is going to switch to a guard. That would be a fantastic pick as well. And Ferris, I think you're right about this. I do think he is going to be a free agent, and Denver will not be able. And I think I read that a couple of weeks ago as well. We really appreciate you, Plank. We love you, man. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Plank. We appreciate that, man. Yeah, please, guys, hit the like, subscribe button. Please share this with your friends. Obviously, you guys, the reason we're here is because of you guys. If it wasn't for you guys, we wouldn't be here. We appreciate all you guys tuning in. We appreciate your comments. Thanks a lot.
And Dennis, to your point right here, let's not be the Chicago Cubs. Let's be the Chicago Bears and spend some coin.
And this is exactly what I'm talking about. Real quick, this is exactly what I'm talking about. No bargain basement shopping. You've seen the Bears do a lot of these signings like Coleman Shelton and Matt Pryor and all these guys. You'd like to see them, instead of signing 8 free agents for very cheap prices, each individual player, you'd like to see them sign 2 free blue chip free agent players in free agency. So after they signed DeAndre Swift, they should have signed Lloyd Cushenberry and been done with free agency. They don't have to sign all these 15 guys. You can find guys like Matt Pryor for league minimum. You don't need to go sign those guys to $2-3 million 1-year deals. You could just go get those 2 blue chip players, and those, you guys, the more blue chip players you have on your team, the more impact they're going to have and the better your team's going to be. But real quick, Sean, I just want to go through these numbers.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, this Niners team is a conundrum, and I'm going to guess that it's due in part to all these injuries.
I agree, man.
I mean, look at this. They're only allowing 309 yards per game total to their opponents, which is ranked number 5. So their defense has played well, but they're allowing 24.6 points per game, which is 24th in the NFL. Like, how are you allowing such low yards totals, but allowing so many points? Which means one thing I looked at is the giveaways. The Niners are giving the ball away 1.6 times per game, almost 2 times a game they're giving the ball away. That has them ranked number 27th in the NFL. So that's part of the reason the teams are scoring on them, even though they're not getting that much yards. My guess is these teams are getting short fields against them, right? So they're throwing picks at the 30-yard line. The team only has 30 yards to go. Here's another reason they're giving up so many points for not on the such small yardage total. They are allowing their opponents, Sean, 70.73% success rate in the red zone. 70% of the time their opponent gets the red zone, they're scoring touchdowns. That makes the Niners defense ranked 31st, almost dead last in the NFL at opponent's red zone percentage success rate. And then the Niners themselves are only scoring on 48% of the red zone visits. But real quick, Sean, I think the reason that the Niners are all over the place. So they're number 16 in points per game, 22.5, number 7 in yards per game at 372. Number 3 in yards per play at 6.2, but they have a losing record. I mean, you look at them, they're top 5 or top 10 in a lot of these offensive statistical categories, but they don't have a good record. And the reason being, guys, is pretty simple. The 49ers, the San Francisco 49ers have been absolutely decimated by injuries this season. I mean, this is one of the worst injury reports I've ever seen in my entire life. And I'm not talking about for this week coming up. I'm talking about for the entire
whole
season. You guys, major players who have missed injuries for the 49ers this season include Brandon Ayuk, Christian McCaffrey, Nick Bosa, Deebo Samuel, Brock Purdy, George Kittle, Trent Williams, Jordan Mason, Javon Hargrave, Dre Greenlaw, Tulana Hufanga, Curtis Robinson, Aaron Banks. I mean, almost all of their stud players and their starting 11 and their team have missed games at some point. And then Sean, the guy who I don't believe has missed a game, Fred Warner. I don't know if you've heard the news or not, Sean, but Fred Warner has been playing with a fractured bone in his ankle since week 4. I mean, at this point with the Niners where they're at, they're not going to win the Super Bowl, guys. They're without Christian McCaffrey. Christian McCaffrey just changes the whole dynamic of that team. And without him on that team, if I were the Niners, I would think about putting Fred Warner on the shelf right now, right? I mean, this guy has a fractured bone in his ankle, and he's playing middle linebacker in the NFL. Just put this guy on the shelf, give him the rest of the season off, and prepare yourself for next season. Here's another astonishing number when it comes to injuries, Sean. Brandon Ayuk, IR. Christian McCaffrey, IR. Jordan Mason, IR. Javon Hargrave, IR. Dre Greenlaw started the season IR. Hufanga's on IR. Curtis Robinson's IR. And then Tatum Bething. I know that Curtis Robinson, Tatum Bething are huge names that you hear all the time on the 49ers, but those are the backups to Fred Warner. So if you put him on IR, you would have no middle linebacker. They don't have a middle linebacker anymore. They would ultimately have to move one of their outside linebackers to play on the inside. I mean, I've never seen a team decimated like injuries like this in my entire life. And this seems to be a theme for the
really quick too on Hufanga and Greenlaw, excuse me. Their practice windows to return open this week. I don't know if they're returning against the Bears.
No, Greenlaw. I know for a fact Greenlaw has already been ruled out. I know that. I saw that. I looked up their depth chart today, and he had an out right next to his name. So unless they haven't updated that from last week, it seems like he's going to be out. And he hasn't played this season, right? He was the guy who got.
He has not. He was the one who got hurt in the Super Bowl running off the sideline.
Running off the sideline. He tore his Achilles or ACL or something like that. That was devastating for the Niners in that game. I mean, I was just saying, you guys, the Niners are a very good team. They have a very good GM who finds very good players in the draft and free agency. They have a very good coach. The reason you're seeing the Niners suffer this year at the record that they're at is because of these injuries. Ultimately, the 49ers are, when they're healthy, are one of the most dangerous teams in the NFL. We've seen this time for the last 5 years. This team is you always pick the Niners to be somewhere near the top in the NFC and finish either in the NFC Championship game or ultimately make it to the Super Bowl. The reason that's not happening for this year is just because of these injuries. And Brandon Ayuk is a soul crusher because they just signed him to an extension after this long holdout, and then he goes out and gets this injury. And ultimately, that injury was just kind of a freak injury if you watched it. I mean, it's not like Brandon Ayuk's been some guy that's been injury prone and missed a bunch of time. He just kind of got stuck in the wrong position and got hit really hard, and it ultimately destroyed it or ended his season. And then Christian McCaffrey, I mean, I know he had injury problems coming in, but as soon as they get him back on the field, he gets injured again. I think, Sean, personally, for me, I think Niners fans were holding on to hope when Christian McCaffrey came back. But Sean, wouldn't you say that this recent Christian McCaffrey injury is probably like the straw that broke the camel's back? Right. I am counting the Niners out.
It might be. I mean, you have.
I don't believe that. I don't believe the Niners are going to make the playoffs. I don't.
I don't think so either. They have a combined 9-game losing streak. Bears 6 and the Niners 3. And the Niners last week. I mean, the Niners have been traveling all the way east, going back west, going back east. Now they're going back west. Plus the injuries. There's a lot of things that start to mount up. They're 5-7 on the year. The one thing that I pointed out last week when we talked about this Detroit game was the Bears' defense efficiency inside the red zone. And the one thing that I'm taking away and saying this team is banged up. They're not the same team that went to the Super Bowl, the NFC Championship games. They're a lot lesser due to injuries, not because of coaching. But the Bears, regardless of what you want to say, they lost the last 3 games in a row. They hung with 3 of the best teams in the NFC. They hung with Green Bay, Detroit. After that slow start, they were able to come back, put this whole thing together. And if it wasn't for dumbass Eberle's, we might have been able to push that game to overtime and have a chance to actually beat Detroit in Detroit, which would have shocked everybody, because in my mind, we should have beat Minnesota and we should have beat Green Bay. Those were coaching fumbles, just coaching malpractice, and just unbelievable. So I do think the Bears, it's hard to go win on the road. San Francisco is desperate. They do have a championship pedigree. We cannot mistake that.
It's a winning culture, no doubt.
And they have Kyle Shanahan. And we don't know what Thomas Brown is going to scheme together. I do like everything from my perspective, everything I've seen about Thomas Brown thus far.
Yeah, and Sean, we're going to get into Thomas Brown before we end the show.
I'm just saying, going in when we're talking about these coaching matchups head to head, Shanahan's obviously got the advantage because we don't know what's on this sideline as the head coach.
Yeah, but it can't get any worse, right? I mean, we know.
I think it's going to be a lot better.
Thomas Brown's better than Matt Eberflus by default, because I think I'd be better than Matt Eberflus as a coach in the Chicago Bears. That guy just found improbable ways to lose games.
I'm going to go as far to say as a lot of the players didn't like Eberflus or Waldron, and I think they're going to be really, really happy now with both of these idiots out of the door. I really, really feel
Sean, we've seen it before. We've seen teams make coaching changes before, or players have moved from one team to another, and they were struggling somewhere, and then they respond very well because they just needed to change the scenery, or they needed a new voice in the room. And I think you're going to see the Bears respond well. And I ultimately do think that the Bears are going to end up beating the 49ers. But Sean, it's weird. This game is very strange because some of the weaknesses of the Niners, the Bears' strengths, the Bears play so well, played into those strengths. Like, for instance, like you said, Sean, the Bears are very good defense in the red zone, right? They're one of the best top five defense, allowing
number 3 in the league.
Yeah, and the Niners offense is ranked 27th in the red zone at 48% success rate. That's good for the Bears, right? Here's another thing: the Niners defense is allowed. I
like that at Matt's.
That would be
Go
awesome.
Bears.
The Niners defense is allowing a 71% success rate to opponents in the red zone, and the Bears are one of the best red zone teams on offense in the NFL, also top 10. But here's where it gets interesting for the Bears, Sean. As we know, this season, the Bears' run game has not been as good as their passing game, especially late in games, right? Especially in the second half of games. The Niners are only allowing they're only allowing 190 pass yards per game, Sean. That ranks them number 4 in the NFL. So their pass defense is incredible. On the flip side of that, the Niners are allowing 120 rushing yards per game, which has them ranked 15th. And Sean, they're allowing 1.6 rushing touchdowns per game, which has them ranked dead last. The Niners are giving up the most rushing touchdowns in the NFL. So the Bears are going to have to maybe per game. So the Bears are going to have to change what they're used to. I mean, what they're comfortable with. The Bears are going to have to rely a lot more on the run in this game and less in the pass. So we don't know if they're capable of doing that. Here's
the one thing that worries me about that is it doesn't appear that Roschon Johnson's going to play in this football game. And we're going to have to check the status of DeAndre Swift, because I hate to say, Khalil Herbert's gone. This leaves us with Travis Homer. And I don't like that. No offense, Travis, but I don't like that.
Yeah, but Sean, I honestly believe if Roschon and DeAndre Swift were out, you would see the Bears bring somebody in or bring somebody back to the squad. Well, I mean, it would be a free agent. Like for instance, the Niners just acquired a running back from the Jets. Yeah. You're going to see that type of move.
They would have to do something.
You can't go into a game with one healthy running back. That's not.
I like this by John 2.0 here. Purdy is good. He's won 69% of his starts, 29-13 as a starter, going for his 30th win on Sunday. Career 105 rating. He doesn't have bad numbers this season. No easy test for the Bears, Kittle and Debo. I will say this, and I wouldn't have probably said this in years past. Debo looks like he's lost a step this year. I'm not too overly concerned about him. Watch him kill us now because I said that. Kittle does scare me because the Bears have been gashed by some tight ends this year. Sure. I mean, Laporta just caught the touchdown last week.
I mean, that depends. I mean, if you saw what happened last week with Trent Williams out, George Kittle blocked up. George Kittle ran 7 routes last week, guys. He ran 7 routes last week. The guy caught a pass on the first offensive play of the game for the Niners and ran 6 more routes to finish the game. He was on the offensive line. He was helping the left.
Here's the deal, though. They're going to Shanahan's going to figure that out because he's going to look at the Bears giving up touchdowns like we're handing out candy on Halloween to tight ends. He's going to figure that out. We got a real smart individual on the other side of that sideline this week. So, and I do like this. I do like Mike Ross here. I agree 100%. We're just going to hand it off to Kramer and see what he can do if everyone else is out.
Listen, I know that you hear names like Deebo Samuel and George Kittle, and that starts to scare Bears fans because these guys are good players.
That's not scaring me. But Kittle does scare me a little bit.
I would, if I were the Bears, I would continue to focus on stopping the run. I think I don't know much about Isaac Guerrero or however you pronounce his name, but I know that the Niners are very good at drafting players. He has I think a 4.33 he ran, and he has the fastest run in the NFL this season, and a couple of huge plays. I would focus on stopping the run. The Chicago Bears need if you make the Niners one dimensional, let George Kittle catch 7 passes for 70 yards. Go ahead. I don't care. Do not let Guerrero run for 150 yards and 2 touchdowns because you're going to lose the game if you do. The Bears need to shut down the run. That is the success of every game in the NFL. Run the ball and stop the run.
I'll give you a wild card here. Me and you have talked about this guy throughout the season for fantasy purposes. It's Jawan Jennings. That guy is legit. Yeah, that guy is legit.
Sean, I can make an argument that they should have signed Jennings, extended Jennings, and not Ayuk. I could make a I
agree 100% with that. He looks here. I honestly, and I think I said this in one of our 4 stars group texts just the other day. I think the wide receiver room next year is going to be Jennings, Pearsall, and Ayuk, and Debo's going to be gone.
Yeah, and they're probably going to draft another one as well.
And yeah, I mean, and you're still solid with those guys. You know what I mean? So. San Francisco has terrible special teams. Hey, maybe DeAndre Carter could be his week, or who else did they have returning kicks back there?
Well, it was Khalil Herbert. It was Khalil Herbert. So now you're Travis Homer probably is my guess.
Travis Homer.
That's probably there's the guy who's returning. But I mean, Sean, if they go into this game with Travis Homer as the only healthy running back, he better not be returning kicks. You want him to get injured on a play like that. But you guys ultimately. Just because of the injuries, I think at this point in time, Sean, correct me if you think I'm wrong, but at this point in time, this point in the season with how many injuries they have, I think the Bears right now have a better roster on paper than the San Francisco 49ers. I know that's crazy to say because the Niners are just notorious for being a winning football team. But Sean, nobody can overcome this. Nobody. This is insane. I've never seen anything like this.
Hey, Kyle, really quick. I just wanted to say, to go back to John 2.0's stats here or a point here. One of the things that I will worry about is if you watch the home and road splits of Purdy, he's way better quarterback in the Bay than he is anywhere else. So that is one thing that might concern you a little bit. And then I agree with your next comment. We have to get some pressure in this guy's lap, make him uncomfortable because he will turn the ball over if you do that.
Yeah, from what I understand, Sean, he is still playing injured. He's not 100% healthy. Brock Purdy's not healthy, but I think the Niners are just desperate. They're running out of options. They have to win games. And I'd say for sure, if the Bears beat the Niners, their season is over. No doubt about it. Our season's already over. So
they'll be 5-8. Maybe 5-8, coming in 5-7. Yeah, that's going to be tough because the NFC North's making a play for three playoff teams. You've got
making a play, Sean. I can almost guarantee that all 3 of those teams are going to make the playoff. The Vikings, Lions, and Packers.
Yeah, you're probably right. Unless there's an epic collapse somewhere down the line here over the next. I'm looking at. Sean, you're talking
about a Packers team that just beat the Niners like 42-10 or something. Like I know the Brock Purdy didn't play in that game, but Green Bay's obviously a better team than the Niners right now. This point in the season.
So the Niners, this is a desperation game for them because this win would keep them in the playoff hunt, but they would also need a Cardinals loss and a Rams loss. I mean, their division is 9, 10, and 11 in the wild card. And
Sean, but who do the Niners play for the rest of the season after the Bears? That's if it's the Eagles.
They got the Rams next week. Yeah, they got the Rams, Dolphins, Lions, Cardinals. So their season's not over.
They have the Lions left, Sean. I just don't see
it. You know what? They can win every game on this schedule except for the Lions. And if they do get healthy, they can hang with the Lions. You can't sell
the Rams roster short. The Cardinals are not walk easy games anymore. Those 2 teams are going to fight. I just don't think the Niners are capable of going 4-1 for the rest of the season. Not with this roster. Not with no Christian McCaffrey, no Brendan Ayuk, no we don't know if Trent Williams is going to play. No Jordan Mason for sure. No Tua Hufanga. Deebo Samuel and George Kittle still have a chance to get hurt. Those guys are hurt every other week. They're probably going to get hurt at some point. We know that. I mean, it's an uphill battle for the San Francisco 49ers. And guys, I don't hate the Niners. I like the Niners. I've been a fan of a lot of Niners players. Garrison Hurst was one of my favorite players of all time. I love Jerry Rice. I love Joe Montana. I just don't, with this roster and the injuries they've sustained this season, I think the playoffs are not a realistic chance for the Niners, in my opinion.
To John's point here, man, the Lions' schedule is going to peak up a little bit too, man. They still have to come to Chicago. They got to play Green Bay this Thursday. They got Buffalo, and they still have to play Minnesota again. So, I mean, this 11-1, I'm not guaranteeing the Lions get that home field advantage. And I'll tell you this, and I don't hate the Lions. And you guys know one of my best friends in the world is a diehard Lions fan, and I would like to see the Lions win the Super Bowl just to mend his broken heart. But if they go to Philadelphia, I don't like the Lions to go. Their best chance is to play Philadelphia, and I still don't know if I like them to beat Philadelphia in Detroit because that defense is legit.
Sean, Philadelphia is a good team, and they do scare me, especially with Saquon Barkley. But Sean, until somebody can prove to me that they can stop the Lions' run game, I don't think the Lions should be worried about anything. They keep running for 200 yards a game. They're going to be tough.
The Eagles just shut down Derrick Henry and held him to his lowest yards per carry per game.
Sean, the Lions
are legit, dude.
The Lions offensive line's a lot better than the Baltimore Ravens, Sean. A lot better. And you also have to worry about lightning and thunder. It's not just thunder. You have to worry about two different style running. Jahmyr Gibbs is every bit as good of a football player as Derrick Henry. Jahmyr Gibbs is going to be talking about a lot.
Nonetheless, if that game happens, either in Philly or Detroit, get your popcorn ready because it's going to be fun.
Yeah, but Sean, Sean, who else do you think could beat the Lions outside of the Eagles?
I don't think anyone in the NFC.
It's certainly not the Packers. Not the Packers. Unless the Packers can stop the Lions' run game, which they didn't do last time they played, and nobody else has done it, so I don't see that happening. I think the Lions this Thursday – is it Thursday they're playing each other?
They're playing tomorrow night, yeah.
I think the Lions are going to run all over the Packers again. I think they'll run for another 250 yards. The Packers just can't stop. Their defensive line is just not that good. It's not. And that's not no disrespect to the Packers. I think – John says he thinks the Green Bay is going to beat Detroit.
Yeah, and Ampharia has backed that up with that injury report is crazy long for Detroit. I agree with that, Ampharia. I mean, you could see an upset. And you know what? I might take them on the money line tomorrow. The Green Bay. Oh God, I can't do that.
I'll be taking the Lions, Sean. I think a lot of people who have watched the Lions play this year and see they're 11-1 and they're a good team. I think a lot of people have this, like, it's kind of subconsciously in the back of their head, like the Lions are going to screw it up at some point. The Lions, I think this is a different Lions team, guy. I really do. I think this team is dominant. I think this is a dominant football team. I think they're one of the probably the best team in the NFL right now. I would, for me personally, Sean, they are the best team in the NFL right now.
We have to do an honorary in the middle of the show because everyone's throwing up the FGB.
Anything you want to get out there before we wrap up?
Shit, fuck Green Bay.
All right.
All right, sorry, guys.
I mean, Sean, to the people who are saying they're going to pick Green Bay, what do you think the stat lines for Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are going to be tomorrow? I mean, you guys think they're going to be held under 100 yards?
No, but with the Packers or with the Lions defense banged up, and they're not coming off a short week because they're playing Thursday to Thursday, so it's 7 days.
You think Jordan Love throws an interception tomorrow?
Oh, of course, that's his favorite thing to do.
I mean, if they don't win the turnover, Sean, if the Packers can't win the turnover battle and they can't stop the run, I mean, football 101, right?
I think it's going to be just a weird game because the NFL is weird and the Lions are not winning out. I know they're in Detroit. They got to stay home. Green Bay's going to come in. Green Bay's not a bad team either. They're gonna have the mentality of wanting to win back the division. And as much as I want to throw up in my mouth when I say this, they have a winning culture there too. They have a little bit more of a winning culture. Remember last year on Thanksgiving, everyone was picking Detroit to get to absolutely the smackdown on the Packers, and the Packers went in there and absolutely laid the wood to them.
I don't think it's going to be. I just think this Lions team is different. I think this Lions team is
I don't disagree.
I think they're exactly what we think they are. I think they're the best running team in the NFL. And I think they play very smart, sound football. And unless the Packers play mistake-free football, I just don't see them going to Detroit and winning. Maybe I'm wrong. We'll see. We'll find out tomorrow, right?
You know what? I don't know how I'm going to pick that game, but I'll tell you, if I hit my college basketball parlay tonight, you bet your bottom dollar I'm going to throw some money on the Packers on the money line.
Until I see a team stop Detroit's running game, I just don't. I'll have to see that first before I start picking against Detroit. If you can't stop the run in the NFL, you can't win. You can't beat the team across from you because all they have to do is run for first downs. And you know what? The Bears got lucky. The Bears gave up a lot of rushing yards, but they managed to make Jahmyr Gibbs fumble at the goal line. If Jahmyr Gibbs secures that ball, that was a 40-yard run or a touchdown from Detroit Lions running back as well. Bears got lucky. He fumbled that ball, and the Bears lost ultimately, so it didn't matter. But they got lucky and fumbled that ball.
In their one loss this year, Kyle, to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and this was in week 3, they ran the ball 27 times for $139 at 5.1 yards per carry. Gibbs had 84. Montgomery only had 35, and the numbers were offset by a big Jameson Williams run.
Hey, however you have to do it, I don't care, man. I don't care. However you got to do it, and the Packers don't have Vita Vea, Sean. So. But it's going to be an interesting game.
It's a division game, and we always say this when you get into the division. It's crazy. Here, after that first half, no one thought it would be coming down to Matt Eberflus not being an idiot to get it to overtime. That's all I'm saying. You never know what's going to happen in the NFL, and obviously here. And when I say when it comes to the Lions and they're not the same Lions, I agree with you 100%. The one thing I don't agree with is I still think Jared Goff is Jared Goff in pressure situations, and I do think he will have the tendencies to cost them in big situations. And he's got a chance to prove me wrong. And for Lions fans across the country, I hope he does. Yeah. But he reared his. They were lucky to win the game. He threw 5 interceptions. He does that in the playoffs.
Yeah, but Sean, that's
not winning that game.
That's just another testament to the Detroit Lions. They won a game in which he threw 5 interceptions. They won. They won the game. Sean, if the Lions threw 5 interceptions 5 years ago, what's the score? 104 to nothing.
Against the Texans? Was that against the Texans? Yeah, it was against the Texans. The Texans suck. He throws 5 interceptions against Philly. Detroit's going to lose by double digit points.
First of all, I don't agree that I don't think the Texans suck. I don't think they're one of the best teams in the NFL, but they don't suck. First of all, they've also been. What's their record? They've also been hampered by injuries as well.
What is their record right now? They are one of the higher, more disappointing teams for me.
What are they? They're 8. What are they? 8-4, 8-5.
I'm trying to find them. They're 8-5 right now.
Yeah.
They're 8-5, but the teams that they've beaten, they barely beat the Jags. They just lost to the Titans. They literally just lost to Will Levis, for the love of Christ. They lost to the Jets. Everyone's beating the Jets.
We should have lost to Will Levis too.
They've lost 3. The Texans lost 3 of their last 5, and that's probably what I'm looking at right now, saying they're getting cold at the wrong time. Let's just be honest. Coming down.
Losing Stephon Diggs didn't help. They lost Nico Collins for a big chunk of the season. Yeah. They lost Joe Mixon because the Bears hip drop tackled him. Once the Texans get healthy, I think they're a better team than people think. And I like the coaching staff in Houston, so I think the Texans ultimately will beat. I'm not saying they're going to make the Super Bowl, but they'll be there at the end. I don't think a lot of people want to play them in the playoffs. The Texans defense is also getting better game by game as well. All right, Sean. Do you want to talk about Thomasbrown and the potential coaching future?
Let's throw our scores out there really quick.
All right.
You want to go first? You want me to go first?
Yeah, Sean, I think ultimately the Bears will win this game by more than a field goal, but maybe probably less than a touchdown. I think the Bears will end up winning this game like 24-19 or 26-19, something around those lines. I think with the injuries to the San Francisco 49ers, I think it's just too much. I don't think they can overcome these injuries. We've seen them lose to teams worse than the Chicago Bears. I think ultimately Thomasbrown will have this team playing differently. I think he's a different style of coach. I think he knows how to finish games. Maybe he doesn't, but he's certainly going to be better than Matt Eberflus in finishing games, because what Matt Eberflus did was like a 1 in 68 million chance to lose all the games he's lost in the fourth quarter. Thomasbrown's not going to be that guy. I think the Bears go into San Francisco and they pull out a win here. I think they're going to end up winning 26-19.
And Kyle, I'm not going to be too far off. As you know, we talked backstage, and I gave you my score, and we were really, really close. I think a big number that's going to play in is the Lions were able to run on the Bears, but when they got inside the 20, were not able to penetrate the red zone as many times as they thought they would be able to. I think that's going to return again. The Bears will hold to that number 3 overall red zone percentage at 66.7 at turning teams away, getting Jake Moody to kick those field goals. I have a really hard time backing the Niners as a team right now, especially with all these injuries. As I stated a little bit ago, I really like the way the Chicago Bears have played, especially against three of the better teams in the NFC and the Vikings, Packers, and Lions over the past 3 weeks. I think personally, as much as this Niners roster is really good and really banged up, the Bears have some key injuries. I want to say if the Bears don't have DeAndre Swift, I don't know if I've changed my pick. My score prediction might go down. But I got the Bears 24-20, and these are both over the 44, and I am just under. It's Niners minus 4.5, and Kyle has the Bears covering that. So,
Well, Sean, if you go and bring up an injury report again, real quick, Sean. This is the reason.
For the Bears?
This is the reason I'm not super concerned about this injury report. It's not necessarily like, listen, you never want to see all your studs on the injury report, but the fact that all of the Bears studs are on the injury report is the reason I'm not so worried. So, Sean, what I think he's doing, and obviously you guys, thomasbrown, first-time head coach, interim head coach but you got Keenan Allen on there, you got DJ Moore on there, DeAndre Swift on there. I think what he's doing, I think all three of these guys got a little bit banged up in that game on Thursday and Thanksgiving against the Lions. I think what he's doing is he's, you know what? These are my studs. These are my stars. I'm going to give these guys just a breather, maybe Wednesday and Thursday, maybe don't practice Wednesday, practice limited on Thursday and Friday, just to try to get them back to healthy. And, we didn't really see Matt Eberflus do that type of stuff. I think these are, it's like Sean, you said earlier, I guess you can call it like a veteran's day off or
I think
catch my breath kind of day for those guys. I think ultimately you'll see all three of those guys playing this game. The guy that does scare me the most, Sean, would be Keenan Allen, because he came into the season with a heel injury and he got cleated on Sunday, and I watched that there's no way that felt good.
Hey, maybe we'll get a Tyler Scott sighting.
Hey, why not?
And Farias has 27-16 Bears. John 2.0 has, I cannot pick the Bears to win. I hope they prove me wrong. He has 34-24 49ers, and Mr. Purdy throwing 3 touchdown passes. We move down. Says the Niners should buy Flus a ticket behind the bench if they want to win. Plank has the Bears 34-14
31-14.
Or 31-14 winners, excuse me there. Let's see. Take the over. Take the over. With a lot of these injuries.
I agree with that, John. Definitely.
With a lot of these injuries, I'm kind of feeling that too. And I'm going to look into that a little bit more. I haven't looked in. I actually do have a couple of bets that I'll throw out there just for this game really quick. But let's see. It's going to be nice weather, gameplay on natural gas, San Francisco, high-scoring game. I agree. Caleb will have 2 TD passes, Purdy 3. Take the over. And in this game, just some trends.
So real quick, John is saying that the Bears are going to have their worst game on defense in the red zone of the season, because I don't think a quarterback has thrown 3 touchdowns on the Bears this season.
Unless he's talking about over-the-top deep passes where the Bears are very weak. Juwan Jennings beating him long or something like that.
John Jennings is a good player. He doesn't strike me as a beat you long player. He's more of a take a 10-yard pass and take it 50 yards for a touchdown.
If you guys want, and we'll revisit this when we do our show on Sunday. As I stated earlier, Bears have scored less than 20 points 5 of their last 6. Niners have scored less than 17, 3 straight. Kittle has gone over 51.5 receiving yards in 6 of his last 7 games. The total has gone under in 5 of the last 6 Chicago road games. Chicago is 0-6 straight up in its last 6 games against the spread. They're 7-13 against the spread in their last 20 games against San Francisco. So just take that into consideration. 7-13. It's a big sample size. The total has gone under in 5 of Chicago's last 5 road games. Oh, that was a duplicate. Sorry about that. San Francisco is 2-4 straight up and 1-5 against the spread in its last 6. And the total has gone under in 4 of San Francisco's last 6 games. So we're all saying over. There's a lot of under stats that are going into this. Ant Mass just chimed in. He's got the Bears 34-17. I like all these predictions. I really, John, I feel you, man. Kyle and I have been singing this song for a couple of weeks. Don't be fooled again. But we're gonna get fooled again, maybe. I just like the regime change a little bit, and
I agree with Mike Ross here, man.
I agree with Mike.
Bears are fluceless. That's the biggest hit in this game. I agree 100%. Like 100%.
And that changes my opinion on about every possible thing that I can think of in this game, especially game-winning situations, which he excelled at, didn't he? Oh, I mean.
And just the way that Thomas Brown's had Caleb Williams playing, I think Caleb Williams is going to get better every single game. I think you're going to see him progressively get better every game. And unfortunately, that doesn't bode well for the rest of the teams on the Bears schedule. Now, I'm not saying they're going to win every single game, but I think they will look a lot better with Thomas Brown down than they have in recent weeks for sure. And I shouldn't even say recent weeks because the Bears played each 3 division games very tight, close. It was the Cardinals and Patriots game that should have got Eberflus fired for sure, no doubt about it.
And just keep this in mind as you're going into this game, because I just re-looked at my notes and everything. The Niners' top 2 corners will both be playing in this game. This is the first time in a month they've been on the field together. So just keep that in mind.
Well, Sean, it doesn't really seem like it matter because once again, the Niners defense is number 4 overall in the NFL, giving up only 190 passing yards per game. So, I mean, I guess the teams haven't been throwing them on to begin with, and they're still winning. The problem with the Niners is when you score 10 points, and 17 points for the last 3 games, you're not going to win many football games like that. And I still think the Niners offense, even against this Bears team that's been struggling as of late, is going to struggle to score points against the Bears. Look at the Bears, guys. If you take away that phantom horse collar call against Detroit,
oh my God, it's so terrible.
Guess what, guys? The Detroit Lions did not score. You take away that one drive right there where they should have been off the field. They did not score a single point against the Chicago Bears in the second half. I think this team, you know what? I like Eric Washington a lot. And I think Eric Washington's going to be more aggressive than Eberflus ever was. I think this defense is going to start to look more like they were in the beginning of the season.
I might have to flip to the under on this, man. I might have to. I'm just thinking about it, dude. They held Detroit, who's putting up 50 points on everybody else, to 23 points and could have held them to even less if it wasn't for that phantom call. I got to really think. The players that San Francisco have on the field, Detroit's players are way better.
Yeah. It wouldn't surprise me. It wouldn't surprise me at the end. I'm not saying I'm going to rushing to FanDuel and put $200 on the over. But I with my score prediction, I think it's going to be a 26-19, 20 somewhere around there. I think barely it will hit the over for sure. I do.
It could. You know what? The best thing, and you know what I'll probably do? I'll probably play it up to like 48. And take the under.
Sean, you want to know the major reason I think that the Bears will win this game? The number that should scare Niners fans is a 1.6, ranked number 27 in the NFL, giveaways per game. You know what their takeaways per game is, Sean? 1.3. So in the middle of the pack. Ultimately, the Bears, I think, will end up taking the ball away from Brock Purdy, and I think the Bears are going to end up with short fields, and they're going to score more than the Niners. But we'll see, guys. There's only one way to find out, right? Hopefully, if Thomas Brown comes out here and he's the worst coach than Eberflus, the Bears are not going to win this game. So it all remains to be seen. We don't know anything about Thomas Brown as head coach. We don't know what's going to happen. But I do think that the Bears right now, if you look at them on paper with the injuries that the Niners have sustained, are a better team than the San Francisco 49ers. So let's see what happens.
You know what, boys and girls? We're going to find out this Sunday, 3:25 at Levi Stadium down in the Bay. Let's go. I'm excited. Here. I'm excited, and we'll flip this. We got a few minutes left on the show.
Sean, since we talked about Thomas Brown and what to expect on Sunday against the Niners, let's get into Thomas Brown real quick.
That's what I was just going to flip to and say. That's what I was going to say. I'm super excited to see his debut, see how he handles this team, see how he is as a head coach. It's a big deal. It's a big deal. There's a lot of new things on his plate, on Beatty's plate, on Washington's plate. The whole staff is different, but the one thing, Kyle, and I think you brought this up to me, about Chris Morgan. As much as I haven't liked Chris Morgan and held him a little responsible the last couple of years, they've been saying that he has been in the passing game.
No, Sean, that's confirmed. Chris Morgan and Thomas Brown have been making the game plan together since he took over as the play caller, the offensive coordinator. Thomas Brown and Chris Morgan have been making the offensive game plan together. They've been sitting down in the room and making it together. So Chris Morgan is, you know what? And Sean, isn't that smart by Thomas Brown? You know what I think Thomas Brown is doing? Hey, just how bad is this offensive line? Like, what can we do and what can we not do here? What should we try to stay away from? Because, Sean, like you said, even though this offensive line is not as bad as you would think it is, if you're listening to this podcast or you listen to the media, which offensive line are you talking about? I mean, the Bears have, Sean, the Bears have now played with 22 different offensive line groups since the season began. 22 different offensive line groups since the season began. That's insane. Once again, the Bears have switched up their offensive line every single game. All right, Sean, I want to talk about Thomas Brown real quick. Vernon sent us some stats today that I thought were pretty interesting. So you guys, when it comes to Thomas Brown and Caleb Williams and this rapport that they're building, when it comes to accurate throw rate versus pressure, pre-bye week, Caleb Williams threw 17% of his passes were accurate. Post-bye week, 40% of his passes were accurate. Since Thomas Brown took over as the offensive play caller, 60% of the passes Caleb Williams is throwing against pressure are accurate passes. Catchable ball rate versus pressure. Catchable ball rate since pre-bye, 36% of Caleb Williams passes were catchable balls. Post-bye, 58% of Caleb Williams passes were catchable balls. Sean, this is the one that's astonishing. Since Thomas Brown took over as the offensive play caller, 87% of Caleb Williams' passes have been catchable balls. I mean, from the pre-bye, it's 36% to 87%. That difference is astonishing. Not only that, guys, it's not just Thomas Brown. You can clearly tell if you look at these numbers that Caleb Williams is getting better every single game. And he's starting to look like the guy. Caleb Williams, in my mind, is already going – I already believe he's going to be the best quarterback in the NFC North for the next 10 years. I think he's better than Jordan Love, certainly better than Sam Darnold. I do believe he's better than Jared Goff as well. If you look at since Thomas Brown has taken over as the offensive play caller, Sean, versus Green Bay, Caleb Williams is 23-31, 231 yards, 0 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 74 completion percentage, and 84.4 quarterback rating. Versus Minnesota, 32 for 47 for 340 yards and 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 60 completion percentage, 77 QBR. Versus Detroit, 20 for 39 for 256 yards, three touchdowns against a team that only allowed 1 passing touchdown to every quarterback they played before they played Caleb Williams, 0 interceptions. Now, Sean, he had a 51 completion percentage against the Lions. I know that sounds bad, but remember the first half was absolutely physical. Yeah, if he had done what he did in the second half all game, if the Bears had made adjustments a little bit earlier on offense, the guy would have finished with 400 yards and 5 touchdowns, no doubt about it. And Detroit could not stop Caleb Williams in the second half. He did basically whatever he wanted to. You guys, on the season, it's just a statistic for Caleb Williams. People kind of counted him out on the Rookie of the Year. I still don't think he's going to win. I think Jaden Daniels is too far ahead of him, man. But ultimately, Sean, he's played 12 games. He's got a completion percentage over 61%. He's got 2,612 yards passing, 14 touchdowns, 5 interceptions, 59 carries for 378 rushing yards. Caleb Williams, Sean, is also now in the top 5 in rookies in rushing yards this year. And that includes running back, Sean. That includes Trey Benson. That includes all those guys. Caleb Williams is the top 5 in rushing yards for rookies at quarterback. And then, Sean, this is the stat I really haven't heard anybody talk about, but it's absolutely amazing. Not only does Caleb Williams only have 5 interceptions this season as a rookie quarterback, but, Sean, his last interception was thrown in week 6. And did you know that Caleb Williams has only thrown interceptions against 3 teams this year?
Yep.
Two against Houston, 2 against Indy, 1 against Jacksonville. He's only thrown interceptions against 3 teams this year. That's for a rookie quarterback, guys, especially a rookie quarterback who's constantly under duress and has been sacked more than any other player in the NFL. That is absolutely amazing. Caleb Williams is the guy, guys. I don't want to hear any more about Justin Fields. I don't want to hear any more about any of that. Caleb Williams is the guy 100%. He's going to be one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL for a very long time. He just needs the right coach and a better offensive line. And if the Bears can manage a way to do that, to give him a better coach and to give him an offensive line, Lions, Packers, Vikings fans, I would be very afraid if I were you guys, because this guy, it's looking like Caleb Williams is going to be one of those players that's talked about for years and years and years after he retires.
Yeah, and as far as one thing, and I had to step away really quick, so I don't know if you touched on this. Caleb Williams is he needs 245 passing yards per game to break the Chicago Bears and Eric Kramer's single season
all time. This is ridiculous. It's Sean. I'm happy about that with Caleb Williams, but I am so sad about
it's
that.
Actually not a bad number for it's not a terrible number. It's a terrible number because it's our all-time lead, but it's not a terrible number for a season. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, but Sean, the fact that the Chicago Bears, the charter franchise, have never had a 4,000-yard passer. Sean, 4,000 yards is the expected. That's the default setting. That's where they gauge you. Can you get over 4,000 yards this season? Every quarterback in the NFL. About what? How many of them threw over 4,000 yards last season? 8, 9?
Yeah,
And we haven't had one since 1926, dude.
Well, Kyle, to touch on that, he needs 277 yards per game the rest of the year to get to 4,000 passing yards. So he could still eclipse these two marks in his rookie year. I think he's got a really good chance to break the Bears. He may fall short of that 4,000.
Well, Sean, you know what's even more concerning about the Chicago Bears and just how they seem to instill this losing culture, Sean. But Jay Cutler's 2 seasons in Denver before he got here were both 4,000 yards passing seasons, dude. Then he got here and never did it again.
Didn't Cutler almost have a 5,000 yard passing year in Denver?
I know one of his. I think his second year in Denver, he had a lot. His statistics were absolutely phenomenal.
I think his second year might have been 5,000 yards.
I don't know if he reached 5,000. Maybe close. Maybe he did. I don't know.
Close. I know it was a monster year because he was my fantasy quarterback, and I remember.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it was a monster year because when the Bears decided to trade for him for Kyle Orton, which the Broncos, we all were like, "Oh my God, the Bears have a quarterback that passes for a lot of yards." But the Bears found a way to screw that up, Sean, as they always do. He came here and he never threw for 4,000 yards again, which is sad. I will say though, I don't remember what year it was, Sean. I think it was 2011 or 12. But Jay Cutler had a season where he missed a game. And he was just short of 4,000 yards passing and just short of 30 touchdowns. So he would have broken every single Bears record if he didn't miss a game that season. He would have, for sure.
If my computer would stop acting up, I would be able to get his stats. It's not working. It's not working.
I got you, Sean. My computer's fast here. Let me go.
I don't know what is going on with this thing today. It's been acting up all day. I mean, I'm even having problems on this stream, dude. It's killing me. Maybe because I have all my TVs on watching college basketball. UConn's up 5 with 8:40 to go. And I missed the halftime for UConn or UNC and Alabama. But we got the Jayhawks, the number 1 team in the country, y'all, coming up at 7:30 versus the Creighton Blue Jays. Let's go, Rock Chalk. Let's get another win. Stay number 1. Sorry, we're back to Bears now.
All right, Sean. Yeah, he had a couple really, really good. So I think 2008 was his best season with the Broncos. He threw for 4,526 yards, and he threw 25 touchdowns that season. But I'm telling you, man, there was a season with the Bears where he almost broke the Bears records. I think it was 2012. Let me look.
Ant-Mans, don't tell anybody, man. That was a secret. John, a little bit ago, I was looking at this really quick. If they were to hire Vrabel, I would love Robert Schlahey and love to keep Thomasbrown. Although there are rumblings that Thomasbrown is coveted down in the Bayou State in New Orleans. So we'll have to see. He's got 5 games, man.
Yeah, Thomasbrown is one of the top head coaching candidates for every team in the NFL, guys. That's not just the Bears. Every team in the NFL is looking at Thomasbrown as potential head coach. But, Sean, here it is. In 2014, Jay Cutler missed one game. One game. He finished with 3,812 yards. So he would have hit that 4,000 mark if he didn't miss that one game. And he finished with 28 touchdowns. So there's a very good chance he would have been the first quarterback in Bears history to throw 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in that season if he didn't miss that one game. Yeah.
Ghost of Judah Tribe here, man. I love when you check in. I really do. But I don't know what Caleb Williams you've been watching, but the one I'm watching looks pretty damn good.
It's just, once again, I know this sounds like I'm beating a dead horse here, Sean, but the fact that Tyson Bagent has so much time that he can make up the name the Ghost of Judah Tribe and come on here and comment on our show is absolutely amazing, dude. That's awesome. Thank you so much, Tyson, for joining us this evening. We appreciate
it. Bring in Belichick. Oh God. What up, Dustin? How's it going, brother?
Sean, how's Belichick going to hang out with his 19-year-old girlfriend if he's coaching this football team?
Hey, Judah, I just got to ask you a question, man. You really didn't think against Green Bay, Minnesota, and Detroit, or you just he looked pretty fantastic. If you take away the first half of Detroit,
Sean, you just
trying to rile me up, man.
So let me ask you a question, Sean. Let me ask you a question. If the Bears coach that they hire next is a good coach, say he's like a Mike Tomlin type or Bill Cowher type coach or Andy Reid, How long would you minimum would you want him to be here? Minimum would you expect or want him to be here? How long?
If we hired who? What coach? Sorry.
Say it's Thomas Brown. Say he's the next Mike Tomlin, the next. How
Here,
long would you expect
coach,
him to be here?
I would like a coach, someone like a Mike Tomlin, Kyle Shanahan, Andy Reid, that sticks around, builds a culture, builds a foundation where you're like, oh, well, these contracts are expiring, but I trust these guys. They're going to bring in players that just replace them, because those coaches that we just named, that's exactly what they do. They don't ever suck. Andy Reid was great in Philadelphia. You went to Super Bowls there too. You just replace players with good players. It's just something that Chicago doesn't do. I mean, if you look through our history, we'll have like 2018.
So basically, you're saying you'd like to at least see the next coach here for Caleb Williams' tenure. Is that what you're saying? For at least say Caleb Williams plays 12 years, you'd like to see that coach here for at least 12 years. All right. So all you people who keep saying Bill Belichick, you guys, but when next season starts, guys, Sean, guess how old Bill Belichick's going to be when next season starts?
It'll be 73.
It's going to be 73 years old, guys. 73 years old. If you want to see him, say Caleb Williams plays here for 14 years. Caleb Williams plays here for 14 years. That means you want to see Bill Belichick coach here till he's 87 years old. If he stays here the whole time Caleb Williams is here, that means he would be coaching until he was 87 years old.
I think we went over this on a few shows back. One of my favorite coaches ever is Marv Levy, and he was old as sin when he retired, dude, and he was 70.
He was 70, 87 years old, Sean. I hate to say this because, Sean, I don't wish this upon him, and I don't want to see anybody pass away, but there's a very good chance that Bill Belichick has passed away by the time Caleb Williams retires. Very good chance. I mean, he's going to be in his upper 80s by the time that Caleb Williams retires.
Goes to Judah Tribe. When he wins the Super Bowl here, man, I got to come find you. I just want to shake your hand when Caleb brings that brass ring back to Chicago.
Well,
I should say diamond ring.
Well, Tyson, I'll tell you this. Goes to Judah Tyson, whatever you want to be called.
Tyson Bajan.
I'll tell you this. If you don't like Caleb Williams, it's going to be a really, really shitty 15 years for you as a Bears fan. I can tell you that. It's going to suck for you for the next 15 years. Laz, what's up, man?
Yeah, I like what we did there. Again, once it's under 7, you're gonna call.
Sorry about that. That's
Sean Laz says Marv is still alive at 99, living in Chicago. Yeah, but Laz, if you look at the life expectancy for a male in the United States of America, 99 is killing it. He's killing it. Marv is killing it.
I'll tell you this. I don't want to offer him a contract right now either.
Yeah. Let's go. I believe Bill Belichick is one of the best coaches in NFL history, if not the best coach in NFL history. It's nothing personal to Bill Belichick.
I agree.
What he accomplished was absolutely amazing. But I don't want them hiring the next coach to pair with Caleb Williams for the next 10 years. It's 73 years old, guys. I just don't. It's nothing personal. You guys, you could also make an argument that if you look at you guys, just so everybody knows, Bill Belichick was drafting all the players from England. Go look at their last 5 drafts when Bill Belichick his last 5 years in New England, guys. It wasn't good. The game has probably passed him by. He's trying to draft players to run a system that's no longer ran in the NFL. He wants to run the ball constantly. He wants to play defense. It's just not that style of game anymore. These quarterbacks are throwing 400 or 500 yards a game. You have to catch up with the times. The Bears, for me personally, guys, I don't think it needs to be an offensive-minded coach or it needs to be a defensive-minded coach. But if you have 2 guys that you love, an offensive-minded guy and a defensive-minded guy, and you narrow it down to those 2 guys, I'd like to see the Bears hire the offensive-minded coach. I really would. I think that it's time for the Bears to start focusing on the maximizing the potential of Caleb Williams and worrying about the offense more than putting more money into the offense than they do the defense. I think it's time for the Bears to make that transition.
My top 3 picks in the draft. Oh boy.
Yeah, Dennis, I haven't looked enough into the draft.
I have not got that far. No,
I don't know if you're talking about like for the Bears specifically, because I would say offensive lineman, or just top 3 picks in the draft. Who I think is going to be. I think for sure. What's his name? The running back for Boise State could potentially end up being a top 3 pick. I don't think he's going to be because he's a running back, but I think if he was a receiver with those stats that he's put up, he would be a top 3 pick in the NFL draft for sure. I wouldn't surprise me if he's picked in here's the problem with the NFL draft. People always say we're going to be the first 3 players picked in the draft. They're going to be 3 quarterbacks, and they're not the best 3 players in the draft, but it's going to be 3 quarterbacks. Go look at the last 5 drafts, guys. It's always quarterbacks. It's always going to be teams are always begging to find a new quarterback. They're always striving to find a new quarterback. The good thing for the Bears is, guys, we don't have to worry about that anymore because Judah Tribe, our quarterback, is here and he's here to stay. Sean, is there anything you want to talk about before we get out of here?
Yeah, there's actually just a couple of nuggets and tidbits that I don't know if Kyle Harris is still with us because we had this conversation, and it wasn't our conversation with him about it was the Niners. It wasn't Justin Jefferson. It was Jaden Reed and Jordan Addison. No, I was just going through some stats, looking for some bets, and I found this awesome stat. Romeo Dobbs' career yardage is 1,542. Christian Watson's is 1,483. Jaden Reed's is 1,486. And Dontavion Wicks is 828. They've combined for 129 games, 5,339 yards. Justin Jefferson's played 72 games, has 6,937 yards. I just thought I'm like, holy crap, dude, that's an awesome stat, dude.
So do you have Addison's career yardage total?
No. I actually just ripped that from a fantasy guy who was on there.
Well, I mean, I'm sorry, but the debate that Kyle and I had about Jaden Reed and Jordan Addison, it didn't age well that week. No, it did not. What did Addison have against the Bears? Like 165 yards and 2 touchdowns.
He tore it up, yeah.
He destroyed. And then I think that same week, I think Jaden Reed had like 2 catches for 28 yards or something like that. No, Addison's an amazing player, and if Justin Jefferson ever left the Vikings, that he had to slide in that number one, he would be a good receiver. He would finish with 1,400 yards for sure.
I'll tell you this right now: the Bears wouldn't be 4-8 if Matt Eberflus knew how to close out football games. Not because of Caleb Williams, because Caleb Williams has put the Bears.
Tyson, why didn't you say something to Matt Eberflus? How could you possibly let that keep happening and not say something? You should have been one of the voices that speaks up in the locker room. Tyson, you're going to leave that up to Jalen Johnson? Come on, man! You're going to leave that up to the Tyson. You're the one who's working grinding your absolute face off. You should be the guy who's bringing that stuff up to Matt Eberflus. I don't
hold on. Is this our guy right here?
Tyson. Sean, don't let him don't let his head get too big now. Don't start showing videos.
Too much about it. I was too busy grinding my absolute face off in the off season.
He was grinding his face off so he could sit on the bench.
I was too busy grinding my absolute face off.
I love you, Tyson Bagent. I do like Tyson Bagent. I think he's a character. I really do.
Yeah, I like him on the bench for sure. It's awesome.
No, I like the Bears. I believe we're gonna try and get this show off the ground at 10 a.m. on Sunday morning. Get some bets, guys. Just so you know, we absolutely killed it. 16 of 20 on the show last week. It was a fantastic show to make money. So this Saturday, we're going to do cash them and pass them. We'll give out some last nuggets, tidbits on fantasy.
Tune in if we do a show Sunday morning, tune into that show because, guys, Sean killed it on betting. Somebody built a parlay with Sean's bets from last Sunday, and he bet, what was it? What did I say he bet, Sean? He sent me a snap of it.
$10
to win $1,700. Bet $10 and he won $1,700. And then I told you guys to do with Mike Evans over 60, Bucky Ewing over 56.5, and the Buccaneers to win. I ended up winning $650 on that bet. So you guys, please keep tuning in to our Cashmere Passums. I'm telling you, Sean has been killing it this year.
And Dustin crushed his too, man.
Yeah, Dustin had a really good day too, man. And Dustin, what's up, man? How you doing? He said his 14 teaser parlay hit too, Sean. And then Dustin also had the late anytime touchdown for Jane Daniels, and that hit as well. So
yeah, guys, that was a really good call, Dustin.
Yeah, for sure. That was a really good call. Yeah, and they Sean, they gave Jaden Daniels really good odds for scoring a touchdown in the game. He was like plus 220 or something. I'm like, why? He does that he runs the ball a lot. I don't think he should be that high. But
you know what? I actually the Ghost. That's one of the games that screwed me on Saturday. Was I took the stupid the Bucks to cover.
No, Sean, Tyson's talking about. He's going through all the Bears games through the season. So He's explaining how Caleb screwed up the games we've lost and not giving any accountability to Madam for this. Yeah. Anyway, I appreciate you guys, man. Appreciate everybody in the chat here. I really appreciate you guys joining us. Obviously, when you guys comment, and it makes it easier for us to remove the show along. We have more to talk about. So Dustin, Ghost of Judah Tribe, Breaking News Bruce, Dennis Moody, Aunt Mass, Elizabeth, Imperious, John 2.0. Who was the new joiner we had? Laz, we appreciate you.
Laz, I'm trying to look. I'm trying to get through my thing is stalling. I don't know why.
Plank, as always, we always appreciate you being here.
Love everybody. Dennis Moody. Can't forget about Moody.
Mike Ross. We
got Breaking News Bruce in the house.
Scott Angel. Scott Angel is another guy who always
Angel.
Loyal listener.
If you're listening, bro, I told you, and I think Kyle told you too, about 6 weeks ago, you had the best team in the league. Jeff Tatara told me that it was Josh. And if I don't beat Josh next week in the playoffs, I hope to play you, because at least I'll get a split, because you'll probably beat me because your team is absolutely stacked.
Yeah, and Scott, I told you that Mike Evans was going to be the best trade available for you, and I had to beg you to get a 6 for him, and he was your top point scorer besides your quarterback, so you're very welcome on that one. There,
hey, Turd Ferguson just checked in, man. Our favorite name on the podcast. What's up, Turd?
Turd is definitely the best name on the podcast. We appreciate you being here, Turd Ferguson. We appreciate the good job, guys. Thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, and before we get out of here, a big round of applause for all you guys. Hold on, it's going to start over, I think. There it is. Thank you guys so much.
Turd Ferguson. Yeah, Turd Ferguson.
Love it, guys. Thank you guys so much. Kyle and I have the Bears. Kyle has the Bears 26-20. I have the Bears 20, or he had them 26-19. I screwed that up whenever.
It doesn't matter.
But I have the Bears 24-20. Well, if it ends 26-19, you got to get your props for that now. Thank you, Plank, man. You guys make the show great. I honestly believe that, man. Bear down. Let's get this win in the Bay this Sunday.
Yeah,
don't forget, we got Dustin and Brando. They're going to jump on and do a badass job on the bare minimum tomorrow night. And we'll be back on Sunday for a quick gambling show, fantasy nuggets, tidbits. It's a quick hour. We just blaze through things, so bring your listening ears. And the Ghost of Judah Tribe just threw in Bears 17, Niners 23. I like it. And then if Bajan starts 28-17 Bears.
Yeah, and then real quick, guys, Dustin appreciates y'all as well, man. He says chat was killing it. Y'all are rock stars. Awesome show, guys. Appreciate that, Dustin. Appreciate all you guys once again coming in here and commenting. It makes it so much easier for us when you guys give us little nuggets or tidbits or topics to talk about. Then Sean and I can kind of go off on a little tangent. But, especially it's a weird week to be talking about the Bears this week because all the changes they made, you're not as focused on the statistics of the Niners and Bears. You're more focused on the coaching changes and how they're going to respond. Can they finally win a road game? But ultimately, I do think the Bears will go into the San Fran and pull this one out. If they don't, it's going to be disappointing, but we'll see what happens in the coming future. Hopefully Thomasbrown can establish himself as a good coach here.
Kyle, if they don't, but it's good situational football and there's good things happening and you're not losing games you should win. If you just lose a game because the team is really better than you were and your best effort was out there, I can accept that. I can't accept what happened in Washington, Minnesota, Green Bay, or Detroit. As a fan, man, I cannot do that. Thank you, Judah. Thank you. Really appreciate it.
Great week to be taking the Bears. Good vibes. I don't know if he meant talking Bears, but either way, yeah, I agree with both of them. We appreciate you guys. We will see you guys on Sunday. Remember, you guys, please tune in to Dustin and Brandon on the bare minimum Thursday night Thursday night football. And then keep an eye out for Sean's cash, and we're passing bets. Like I said, he killed it last week. He won somebody $1,700 off a $10 bet. So keep tuning in. It gets better. Dustin was killing it on his bets last week as well. Appreciate you guys. You guys have a safe night. I don't know where you guys are at, but the weather here is terrible. Hopefully it's a little better where you guys are at.
Oh, before we get out of here, for everybody left, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. Don't forget, if you guys are in the Chicagoland area, you want to come out December 16th, a week from this Monday, we are throwing down our very first live party at our favorite sponsor, River Street Tavern. Come out. We're gonna put together an awesome time. We got some dollars off beers. We might actually have some other specials going on. We're still trying to work that out. You're going to have to show up to find out, but it's going to be special, I promise. We're going to have DJ Moore. We're going to auction off this DJ Moore, Dan Hampton, Kevin Butler, Lance Briggs, and we might have a couple of other awesome prizes that are available. Don't forget, guys, we're doing this for Bears Care, Bears Charity. There is a 50-50 raffle involved. So you can come in, you can get your money back, and you can leave with some prizes, pay your tab, and it's like you never went out in the first place. You know what I mean?
And you've donated to a good cause as well. Sean.
That's right. You're helping the less fortunate in the holidays. So get out there. Hopefully we see y'all December 16th. That's 102 North River Street. 4-Star Chicago will be there. We're going to hang out. We like to put some faces to the people that we're chatting with every week. It'd be great to hang out with y'all. Until next week, or until Saturday or Sunday morning, excuse me. Stay safe out there. We love y'all. Thank y'all.
Go Bears.
Peace.